Planned Parenthood joins forces with the Satanic Temple in their attacks against Missouri's abortion law. One America's Christian Rose has a story.
A third abortion facility starts its operation in Missouri as a result of a joint effort between Planned Parenthood and the Satanic Temple. This after Missouri lawmakers introduced new requirements to abortion clinics this summer, including annual state health inspections. Missouri law requires abortion clinics to meet the same standards as surgical centers, as well as for the doctors to have hospital privileges. The measure also requires a 72-hour waiting period for women seeking the procedure.
I'm elected by about 32 to 35,000 people. They knew up front that I was pro-life, and so that's one where I drew a line in the sand initially, and so that's the hill that I'd probably die on, and there's no compromise.
These regulations meet fierce resistance from Planned Parenthood and the Satanists, who seek to expand abortion services in Missouri. Despite strict pro-life regulations, Missouri has tripled its abortion capacity since the summer of 2016, when the first anti-abortion bills passed the Missouri State Assembly. The Satanic Temple battles the regulations, saying abortion restriction violates its members' right to free religious practice.
So we just have 7 tenets, and they're rather humanistic and straightforward. They're the third tenet that states the body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, and that we should defer to scientific fact the best we can. Those have really been the basis of our claims against abortion restrictions.
Satanic Temple has been involved in lawsuits opposing pro-life laws for years in Missouri, claiming they are fighting for women's rights. However, Satanism has long history of child sacrifice, which can be traced back to the pre-Christian cult of Baal. Also known as Moloch and Beelzebub, or Lord Baal, this ancient deity is associated with the devil. Parts of ancient Palestine and Carthage practiced the cult of Baal, which was ultimately wiped out by the Israelites and the Roman military, ending gruesome practices of mass murder of children. Today, worshippers of Satan are backing a wider expansion of Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics, which falls in line with their practices.
Here at the abortion mill, you really cannot pray without understanding that babies are being slaughtered here, babies are being dismembered here, and so to pray to end abortion, I really think you need to come and experience what's going on.
On its part, Planned Parenthood filed its latest lawsuit against Missouri Tuesday, targeting the 72-hour waiting period before abortion could be performed. The organization claims this regulation forces women into making 2 trips to an abortion clinic, facing the obstacle of driving long distances. The abortion standoff in Missouri reflects the continued onslaught of the globalist regressive left against both Middle America and Christianity. It's an attempt to dismantle core American values by means of abortion clinics and mass migration. Christian Rose, One American News.
Abortion rights were the focus today in the Missouri Supreme Court. A woman says her rights were violated when she was required by law to wait 3 days to have an abortion. And a religious organization is supporting her. That organization is called the Satanic Temple. Caroline Sweeney has new details.
After judges here at the Missouri Court of Appeals said a woman's religious rights were violated while she was trying to get an abortion, they said her case needed to be heard by the Missouri Supreme Court. Abortion is a divisive issue across the country, and for one woman in Missouri, her fight to have an abortion and not have her religious rights trampled on has made its way to the state's highest court.
Part of our beliefs as Satanists is that our body is inviolable, subject to our own will alone.
The woman in the lawsuit, only listed as Mary Doe, was told she had to wait 72 hours after her first appointment, view an ultrasound, and was given paperwork that said life starts at conception.
Mary presented an exemption form to the clinic so that she did not have to be forced to comply with these religious beliefs mandated by the states.
Blackmore says the clinic would not accept the form. Mary Doe is suing Missouri Governor Eric Greitens, Attorney General Josh Hawley, and other parts of the Missouri state government. In a 30-minute oral argument to the state Supreme Court in this room today, Blackmore says their attorney made an airtight argument.
Mainstream Christian and Catholic organizations oppose what we're doing.
So we asked one anti-abortion group in Kansas City to respond. The KC Coalition for Life said, quote, "If the material is against a woman's religious beliefs, she can simply toss it aside and make her decision. No one is forcing her to make a decision that she doesn't want to make." The group also said the 72-hour waiting period in Missouri is a safety measure. Caroline Sweeney, KC TV5 News.
We're gonna do this now. Take a right, we're gonna do a drive-by again. 100 people are coming down the sidewalk to protest. Okay, everybody remember that we do not engage. I would say that we employ radical political theater to draw attention to the absurdity of the pro-life movement.
The Satanic Temple is an activist organization of self-identified Satanists, founded in 2013 as a reaction to the increasing influence of the religious right in American politics.
We're so used to the theocratic agenda being pushed forward in bills and legislation. It's become a fact of life in the American culture right now.
We empower women to be creative about protecting their own freedoms and access to reproductive health.
In 2015, the group filed a lawsuit seeking exemption from recently introduced abortion laws in Missouri on the grounds of religious freedom. Through the suit, they are appropriating the tactics of the religious right to advance their cause.
If we're asking for religious rights for all, then we need to actually understand what that means. That means religious rights for Satanists as well.
We're in a parking lot behind the Planned Parenthood location. Apparently, tons of protesters just showed up, and when we were driving by, we saw so many people with signs, and there was some sort of like bishop with a ceremonial awning over him. So we're gonna head in, and it seems like people are kind of nervous that this is gonna be a little bit extreme.
I think that our actions are extreme and do put us in a position of confrontation.
Oh my God, babies!
There's no way that we can come there and have a logical discussion or argument, and so we don't want to give them credit for this absurdity.
I think that they're doing what they're doing is for attention, and I think they're trying to upset us and hurt us. The satire that I saw them using today is the same stuff that I've seen at the National Holocaust Museum that the Nazis used against the Jews. And I think that they're trying to hurt God ultimately.
The meaning is a little bit lost on us.
We're talking about the abstraction and fetishization of the fetal image as one that speaks and diminishes women's power and voice.
Expose the violence of abortion. That's what those posters
I disagree that abortion is violent, and I believe that your actions are violent.
What happens to in an abortion wouldn't be done to a dog.
Also, people don't treat dogs the same way that your protesters treat women outside clinics.
Oh, right.
You know what? And it's completely okay that we disagree, but you cannot force your opinions on others.
And what is your relationship to Satan as he appears in the Bible?
I think the satanic figure in the Bible is one that really inspires a rebellion in mankind against a tyrannical God.
But you don't, actually worship Satan?
We don't believe in, like a guy with a red poker down in hell waiting for us to torment us for the rest of our life. And we don't believe in supernaturalism or any element in that way.
Joining us now, Lucian Graves, spokesman for the Satanic Temple.
Essentially, we view Satan as a symbolic embodiment of the ultimate rebel against tyranny. The aesthetic of Satanism resonates with us. To us, it's genuine. It's not just something we're playing with as psychological warfare against other people. My original introduction to the idea of Satanism came very early when I was a kid.
To some, it's a religion. To others, it's the practice of evil in the devil's name. It exists, and it's flourishing.
The general culture at the time was very oppressive. These ideas that you couldn't listen to heavy metal music without getting into horrific crimes. You couldn't play Dungeons and Dragons, or you were down that suicidal, homicidal spiral into Satanism. And when you're a kid, you believe these things, but more and more as time went on, they compelled me to look deeper into what the truth was behind these claims. And at the same time, I'm losing any respect for established religious organizations. And these kinds of things all converged into me really embracing the symbolism of Satanism.
Some of the Satanic Temple's actions have provoked violent reactions from anti-abortion and Christian groups. Members of the temple are regularly the target of hostility and vitriol.
Desecrating our Lord.
People regularly have shown interest in burning down my house while I'm in it, sleeping at night.
There's definitely fear towards us. And
Have you gotten any threats?
yes. I mean, every time I do an action, I actually carry a will in my pocket.
People have also said that they would show up to an event and would plan to shoot me. In fact, people have told me what kind of bullets they've recently purchased for the gun that they own. And so I think I'm somewhat of a hated human being.
Why is reproductive rights such a good fit for the Satanic Temple?
So we just have 7 tenets, and they're rather humanistic and straightforward. They're the third tenet that states the body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, and that we should defer to scientific fact the best we can. Those have really been the basis of our claims against abortion restrictions.
The Satanic Temple filed its first lawsuit in 2015 in Missouri, one of the battlegrounds for new anti-abortion restrictions. We traveled there to meet the plaintiff in the Satanic Temple's suit and experience firsthand how the war over abortion is fought in one of the most divided states in the nation.
Pray that a baby is born.
God is just working so hard, and the evil one is so upset that we're doing so well, which is why the devil's mad, and I'm glad.
Father, we would ask that abortion would end. And Father, I would like to see it start in Missouri.
Republican Representative Mike Moon is one of the most hardline anti-abortion legislators in Missouri. He has introduced several controversial anti-abortion bills, including one called the All Lives Matter bill.
I am elected by about 32 to 35,000 people. They knew up front that I was pro-life. And so that's one where I drew a line in the sand initially. And so that's the hill that I'd probably die on. And there's no compromise.
For you, would you say, personally, is this a scientific belief or is it a religious belief?
I think it's both, yeah.
So if the law were written with everyone acknowledging that we were created by a higher being, wouldn't it be a religiously motivated law?
I'd say there is a substance for that. Yeah, because since I believe that God created me, and I do attempt to follow his teachings as best I can, I think you're right. There is a foundation of faith in that. There could be a lot of debate as to, is this a person or is it not? You could make the same argument with kittens and dogs and tadpoles and all sorts of things. When does it actually become a dog or a cat? And I would think that most people, especially those who are pet lovers, would think it unconscionable to reach into a womb of a cat or a dog and rip out that forming pet.
The Planned Parenthood in St. Louis is the last remaining abortion clinic in Missouri. On our way inside, we were greeted by a group of volunteers who we initially assumed were working for Planned Parenthood.
Take a look over it. Please let us know if we can ever help you out. There's a bunch of free health resources in the area. Have a good day.
Do people ever confuse you for Planned Parenthood volunteers?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that happens?
I think just because of the nature of us being out here, since we are like right outside the gates. But we really just tell people, like, when they do confuse us with that, we say, no, we work with this different organization, but we want to let you know this XYZ information.
Do you think that in Planned Parenthood they're not told that they have other options?
I can't say I don't know, but that's just what we try to do out here, is to let people know.
But if you've never been in a Planned Parenthood, how can you know what sort of things they're offering people?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think that should deter what we want to let people know as well.
We'd love to see this place go out of business, and we pray for that. But the thing is, we're really here to help women that are confused, that think this is their only option when it's not their only option. And in fact, it's the worst option.
And society will
Let me finish, will you, Marianne?
I just wanted to say one thing.
Well, you can say it after I finish. Because we're just here to let women know they have another option.
They kill 300-400 babies a day. It's murder. In fact, for the doctor, I don't even want to call them doctors. They're worse than anything I can think of.
So how has the landscape for reproductive rights changed in the past few years?
There has been a never-ending onslaught in terms of chipping away at women's access to basic reproductive health care services.
Of all the abortion restrictions introduced recently, Missouri's 72-hour waiting period has the biggest impact on women seeking the procedure. This law mandates that any woman who wants an abortion must go to the clinic for an in-person counseling session, at which she receives an informed consent pamphlet filled with pro-life propaganda, including a section that states that life begins at conception. Afterwards, she must spend 72 hours reflecting on the information she's received before returning to the clinic to actually get the abortion procedure. The 72-hour waiting period and the informed consent material are the key elements of the Missouri abortion law the Satanic Temple opposes.
We're about to meet with Mary Doe, who's the lead plaintiff in the Satanic Temple's case against the state of Missouri. She's asked us to keep her identity anonymous because she's afraid that the pro-life movement will harass or threaten her if they find out her real name.
I became aware that I was pregnant.
And you already have a child?
Yes. Well, I mean, that was a big part of the decision as well, is I don't know if I'd be able to financially support them both. And as I began to look into it, I realized how many roadblocks and things were set up, and just how ridiculous, some of it was. Just one clinic in an entire state. If you're in the far corner of the state and it's several hundred miles and you don't have a vehicle and you don't have the money to get a bus or rent a car, it's horribly stressful. But also, to force them to sit and reflect for 3 days over a decision that it isn't made overnight. I think it's trying to impose guilt and shame.
Thinking about this region in general, where you've seen closures in so many neighboring states, how does that make you feel to kind of see this drought of reproductive care?
When you see these clinics closing and these new bills and laws and regulations being passed, you also see a rise in the do-it-yourself abortions and, women getting seriously hurt or killed, It's scary. It's scary.
If we win the lawsuit in Missouri, and when that happens, I think it will be very demoralizing to those on the Christian right who are fighting so hard to put these restrictions into place now, when they realize that the privilege they've given themselves can now be extended to other parties, and there's no legitimate way to take that away. They're going to find themselves living in the real world, and they're going to find that a very bitter pill.